Hey, welcome to the Early Morning Musician. This show is for artists committed to creating in the margins.
Before their day jobs, after the kids are asleep.
From the business trip or the basement.
We get it, and we're going to share everything we've learned along the way.
Welcome to
The Early Morning Musician. Guys, welcome back to The Early Morning Musician, episode 11.
Yeah, welcome back.
We're here today to talk about how we have a plan to fail for the next 5 years.
I mean,
that sounds like a long time saying it out loud. 5 years.
Could be less. Could be more.
Fingers crossed that it's less.
Approx.
At this point in my life, I'm not going to bank on success. 5 years. Why are we doing that? And where did that come from? Initially, when we first kind of started talking about this, like, hey, look, let's do music for real. Like, let's stop sitting on the sidelines. Let's do the thing and let's be consistent. Because
consistency was our biggest issue.
Yeah, it's always been.
Always.
And for most artists, we've talked about it some here on the podcast, it's hard. It's hard to be consistent, especially when there's just, there's no money, there's no accolades. There's really, you feel lucky if someone tells you that the song you just spent the last month on is okay. Like,
I mean, for us, it was also just like the price of life.
Yeah.
Like you think, okay, no matter what, I'm going to be consistent this time because I know that consistency is the key.
Every time.
So I'm going to really do it. And then what happens? Everything happens.
Everything happens. In fact,
everything happens.
What was
every
it,
time.
What was it that happened this year? I think we got 3 songs deep. We were like killing it. We were like way ahead of schedule every single release.
Way ahead of schedule.
Like I was like 2 songs ahead. So like
right.
I had like 3 months between me and my next release. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then of course,
our daughter broke her arm.
But
it wasn't any break. It was like she had to stay at Children's Hospital for 4 days and have a surgery.
Yeah.
And while that happened, your computer with all of your stems.
So we had computer crash. So lost everything.
Lost everything.
And now lost. I mean, we got it back eventually, but
yes.
It took like 2 weeks of hard work to bring the computer back, working on it every night.
And in that time, you still felt like you had to work. So the song that you were working on just is gone. So you start over on a completely different song.
I fixed the computer, started a new song. Of course, Eden broke her arm. We got like medical bills, like 20 grand worth of medical bills just rolling into our mailbox. We were like, well, crap. Like, we don't have just 20 grand laying around, unfortunately. So how are we going to pay this?
And then you sold your truck.
So I sold a truck. I was like, we got to get rid of these medical bills. Sold a truck. Ended up being fine, not a big deal. And then randomly, like a tree in our front yard died. Like a huge tree. We have a massive tree in our front yard. It's still there.
Turns out it's going to be $4,000 to cut it down.
Right. So all these things, and this is everyone's life, right? Like everyone, it doesn't matter what year it is. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like these things just come. And if you're an artist and you're trying to be consistent, it's like the world is fighting to stop you. But I feel like something that we did really, really well was just right off the bat, we set our mindset and said like, hey, we know, I read some books, I did a lot of research, like how long does it actually take to have any form of real success? Like, playing decent sized gigs, making a little bit of money, and like actually having something to show in terms of social media metrics. Like, look, I'm successful. I've got this many followers on TikTok or Instagram or wherever. Across the board, it doesn't matter. This isn't specific to music. So, even if you're not a musician and you're watching this, like it seems to be the case that it takes grinding for at least 3 to 5 years before you see any success, period. And I don't know why that was news to me. Like, I don't know why it took me, 31, 32 years to for someone to finally tell me like, hey, it takes a super long time. A lot of consistency with nothing in the meantime. Like you're just going to work hard and learn and put stuff out there. And a lot of it's going to suck. Like even like our first, not that I think our songs suck, but our first 3 songs, I wasn't doing great. My mixing wasn't great. It was not great.
And those are like the most listened to songs.
They are, and you should. Like I'm glad that people listen to them. Those are our deep cuts someday. And they don't sound horrible. I mean, I kind of know what I was doing, but it was I had mixed more live stuff, and mixing live and mixing in a studio setting, very, very different. Mm-hmm. You know, like you don't hire a live front of house guy to mix your record, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah,
just a different thing. So it was just like I was just learning. You know, I just had to like make mistakes, but having that mindset of like, I'm gonna work really hard on this song, and I'm gonna put it out. And then I'm going to move on with my life. Like I'm going to promote it. I'm going to make TikToks. I'm going to do whatever it takes to like make it happen. But like I'm not going to like dwell on the fact that I don't know how many streams it even has. Like it's going to get 30 streams, right. And then I'm going to go start working on another song that I'm going to literally spend a month on every morning, a lot of nights, a lot of weekends.
And refuse to let anything interfere.
Right. Nothing's going to interfere with me. Like you can, my daughter can break her arm. The tree can fall down the front yard. My truck is gone.
And just this last week, we had like a really big interpersonal conflict.
Yeah.
And somehow like those types of things can be even more discouraging than like financial stuff. You know,
Absolutely.
Like I remember saying 3 years ago, we've said this all year long. 3 years ago, this would have stopped us.
For sure.
3 years ago.
How many times have we said that
We've
this year?
said that a lot.
5 times probably.
Because it really would have. And I think 3 years ago, that's still okay, you know?
Yeah.
We were in a different spot. That's fine.
We had babies, like babies.
Absolutely.
3 years ago. So it was like different. But even before we had babies, like
before we had kids,
one mild inconvenience, I would have been like, I'm done with this.
One small existential crisis was enough to throw off the next year.
I miss my breakfast, and I'm like, I'm done with this music career. I can't handle this. I didn't get a big enough breakfast. Like, it was just anything.
Right.
Could have just knocked me right off.
Or somebody would just be like, oh, I'm sure you'll figure out what you want to do someday.
And yeah, it feels like
just be like, okay, I'm done.
You would put stuff out there, and when it didn't pop off, you thought it was like a sign
that it was never gonna. That was bad.
Yeah, like oh, if I'm good at this, I should write one song, and it should get 30,000 streams in a week.
I think that that was the narrative of the 80s and the 90s was that you didn't hear anything from an artist until they had been discovered and endorsed.
Right.
And we've probably talked about that on one of the last 10 podcasts, but the world really changed while we were spinning on it,
Absolutely.
It became a different animal. So now, like we talked about in the Cringe Mountain episodes, you have to kind of be willing to form yourself over and over in the public eye.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which takes
time.
A lot of time.
A lot of time. And that's really, I feel like that was the key to consistency, was accepting from the get-go, like, I'm not expecting success at the earliest 3 years, probably 5, before we actually see anything. And when you put that mindset on, it's daunting. It's like scary.
Counting the cost.
Yeah, you're like, oof, 5 years, I'm going to be 37. I'm going to be almost 40 years old before I even expect to have any real success.
But it's such a good metric of like, how much do you want something?
Do you actually want it?
Do you actually want that? Do you really want to wake up for the next 3 to 5 years at 5 a.m.
Right.
and give nights and weekends to XYZ and film podcasts and post every day on social media? Do you really want to do that for the next 3 to 5 years with virtually no results? And how many people do you think that would eliminate from wanting to do it?
I mean, a lot.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah. What are you guys' thoughts? I'm sure y'all are out there. Y'all are all doing this too. Like, I feel like a lot of people are making a go with the internet right now. A lot of people are making
a go. Yes, absolutely. But I think that consistency over time is scary. And and I think that there are some people out there listening who are probably thinking to themselves, like, if it takes that long, I'm out. I don't have the capacity to keep doing this for that long without success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people feel that, but also, like I forget where it was. It was, I was reading about Spotify and like being consistent on Spotify and like generally how consistent are people. I was just curious, like, what's the norm? And I forget what it was. It was out of like 12 million artists or something on Spotify.
Wow.
Like 8 million of those artists had less than 10 releases under their artist profile. So like, if you can literally just get 10 songs onto Spotify, 10 original songs, mixed, mastered, out there, you are already ahead of 8 million other people. You're more consistent than them. I was rocked by that. And that's funny that I am rocked by that because I, right now, have 2 other Spotify profiles that have, one has 5 songs and one has 3 songs.
We did that.
And I was like, that's right. That's me.
That's us.
That's me. I did that.
We did that.
You know? But it encouraged me because I realized like, wow, if I can just get to 10, like that's a marker. You're ahead of 8 million other folks out there making a go with this. But
it's a different metric than we would have used 3 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Because have you guys seen that TikTok? So there's this guy who he's older. I don't know how old he is, but he's not as young as probably some of you listeners, and maybe our age or older. And he's talking about how he's tried to make professional music for 20 years.
Oh, you're talking about that guy who does like those 80s hits, like super synthy.
He's tried to make music for 20 years, and he was like, if you're going to try to be an artist, like you're going to get humbled. And I was just at a family reunion and somebody asked me if I was still trying to make music. And I said, yeah, I was still trying after 20 years, but I hadn't seen much success. And this guy was like, oh, that's crazy. My nephew put one song out on Spotify and he got like 20,000 streams in the first week. Like,
ouch.
And used to, that would have been the metric that we would have used. It would have been, so we've tried this for 6 months and we only have this many listeners. Mm-hmm. But now we just want to be consistent.
Yes.
And that's the goal.
Right. The goal is consistency. The markers of success are far different. It's more about building the catalog of music, being consistent, and just having realistic expectations. Like, I feel like that is such I don't know, people just don't really talk about that, like having realistic expectations, because there is no like defined path to success in music.
Right.
There's no like, you go to this college, you get this degree, it's this many years. Like most careers have that. Music does not. And it is like, it feels so random. You know, Justin Bieber gets discovered by posting one crappy YouTube video that his mom made, and a record label comes along and makes him the biggest artist on the planet.
And like, Justin Timberlake and Usher fight over him.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, so I guess I put one thing out and somebody's going to come fight over me. And then when they don't, you know.
Oh, wow.
It just, man, it really changed things. And it really comes down to, do you truly want it? Because I feel like I can honestly say, like when I think about how do I actually want to spend my time? Like, what are the things that I actually want to be doing? Because I really have to answer that question to do this for the next 3 to 5 years. You know, like, what do I actually want to be doing day to day? And I feel like that's what it always comes down to for me. And the answer, truthfully, is I want to be making music. So although I definitely have to sacrifice some things, the truth is I do truly want it. Like, I truly want to be making music, not just the career, not just the success of it, but I actually want to be writing the songs. I want to be producing the music. And that makes that 3 to 5 year time frame like just much more palatable, because it's not like 3 to 5 years doing something I hate. It's I get to really focus and be consistent and get better at something that I love doing for the next 3 to 5 years. So it's much easier to like have that discipline, have the consistency to like really do it. You know what I mean?
Right. You know, like with anything, the more investment you put in, the more faith you have to have that eventually it will work. Because eventually, if you don't have faith that it's going to work, there's going to be a big part of you that says, this is too much and this isn't even going to turn into anything. So why am I investing this much with no guarantees, no payout? Why am I investing this much? And I think that you have a real strength in like hoping and just believing best outcomes. And I feel like I've always been a little more pessimistic and have tended more towards like, this isn't going to work, you know? But you were always like, if you're just consistent, if we were just consistent, it would. Or if we were just consistent, it will. And we've been doing Geraldine for 6 months now. And
yeah, a little longer, but yeah.
Yes.
Publicly for 6 months.
Streams have not really changed. But what we did start to see just in the last 2 weeks, after 6 months of plugging away at social media every day, if you do anything on TikTok, you've heard of like 200s and 300s jail.
Right.
Where
boy, we were locked in there for a minute.
When you're an early creator, like your first videos will do really, really well because TikTok wants to hook you into like...
They're like, look, I got 5,000 views on this crappy video. I'm great at this.
And then like universally...
TikTok's like, no, you're not.
You find that you're in 200 view, 300 view jail. And we were there for like 6 months. And just in the last 2 weeks, we don't know that we really changed anything, but our views more than doubled like per video. Today we got more interest on a song than we've ever had. We had the very first time that someone used a song as the background for their video, like the background sounds, and we didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
That was so cool. And somebody asked for the song on a platform that we didn't have. It wasn't on that platform.
Right. So like we put it on that platform today.
There was a demand that we could supply.
Whoa.
So
someone wanted to listen to our song, guys.
After 6 months, and how many songs? Is this 7?
We have 8 out.
This is 8?
So we're working on 9 right now.
Yeah, so like the first, and we have been working on these songs. I mean, before you released your first 3 songs, you had been working on them for 6 months to a year.
Yeah, we started in June of 2023. We were like, okay, we're going to do something.
So we've really, we've only been publicly plugging away at this for 6 months, but we've really been plugging away at it every day for over a year.
Yeah.
And just today, we had our first actual interest among strangers.
Yes.
Not just family and friends who are being supportive, not just mom commenting on every video because she's mom.
Thanks, mom.
Thanks, mom.
Thanks, moms.
But actual people being like, I love this. I want to listen to this. How can I listen to this? And choosing it, So I honestly, when I was in 200s and 300s jail, do you remember? I kept saying
you were like, I can't do this. I can't crack the code. What's wrong?
We've got to change something. We've got to change something because what we're doing isn't working. We've got to figure out what would work. And you would say to me back then, it's too early to change anything. Just stay consistent.
Yeah.
And I didn't believe you. I was just like, no, there's got to be a code. There has to be a hack because surely it cannot mean this much investment over this much time.
I think it is the investment over time.
And the investment over time is the hack, unfortunately.
That is the hack. The hack is there are no hacks. The hack is
for the vast majority.
Long time.
Yeah.
You're going to suck at it. Even just in terms of writing songs, I remember it was the very first TikTok I ever posted. I was terrified, by the way, scared to death.
It's so scary. It's so much scarier in the beginning. I mean, even doing podcasts, I remember how stiff and nervous I was on that first episode.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like anything now, but in the beginning, it's super, super scary.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember I did that first one. I was literally scared to death to post it because I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And the first comment on, now again, TikTok was pushing it, doing me a favor as a new person out there. So I got in front of a lot of folks that I probably shouldn't have been in front of. But the first comment was, hey, this song sounds a lot like Snow Patrol, which is one of the artists that we pull from. So I was like, as soon as I got that comment, I was like, okay, I'm giving the vibe I want. If I can just refine this, I can do this. I've just got to refine it. And it's taken me, I feel like every song we release gets incrementally better. Not a lot better, but a couple steps up better. In terms of writing, melodies, the mix, the master, everything is constantly coming up. And I feel like this song, the Sunburn Season that we just released, it did something for a group of people that we've not seen before. We got all these comments that were the song, wow, where's the song at? And it's because in the same way that I'm getting better at social media over time, my songwriting and producing and mixing, and it's it's the 3 to 5 year walk to like all of these things like converging. Like you become good at building an audience. You know, we talked about that being a different skill than being a musician. Sometimes we think they're the same, but it's two different skills. And really just social media in itself is a lot of different skills that all have to come together to do social media. And then music is the same way. It's a lot of different skills that have to come together to make a song. But then when these things converge, then it's like over a long period of time and they get big together and you get good together. That's it. Like that's the path towards the music career that you're wanting.
Rounding the learning curve on all of them.
Yeah, it's skill stacking. I've been like watching some videos on skill stacking and just being able to do things yourself so that way you are not dependent on another person, on their timeline. Your finances aren't tied up because you have the skill. It really changes things. Like learning how to edit video, oh my gosh. Daunting, scared to death. I thought there's no way I could ever do this. Like
honestly, if I had to do that myself, I think that alone would have stopped me. I think that I would have just been like, I can't do this. Like either I have to have the money to outsource this and pay somebody on Fiverr to do this, or I can't do this. It was that daunting to me.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. See, I wasn't as afraid of video because I knew. Now, there are obviously, I'm like novice video editor. Like I just know how to like open DaVinci Resolve, get the stuff in, like get the settings right so that everything plays back correctly, and then just like line stuff up, cut it and whatnot. And I know there's people who like spend a lifetime doing that, and that's their thing is amazing edits.
Yeah.
I knew going in, I'm not trying to be a video editor. I'm trying to be a musician and like a social media person. So I knew that there was like a threshold. Like I just need to overcome the threshold, like get the basics done and I'll be fine. And I feel like that was a few YouTube videos. Like I was scared a little bit maybe when I started, but like after a few YouTube videos, I was like, I can do this. I can edit video. I can do that. That's not bad. There's so much. There are so many videos. You can learn to do anything on the internet right now. I mean, it's nuts.
And your personality style helps. You're a big, you're a little knowledge collector.
I'm like introverted and I'm just like, I just want to get alone and just like learn all about something.
You just like get in your little cave and you just like, you know.
Even like last night, I'm laying in bed and I'm like, I've been designing an in-ear monitoring rig so that we can go out and play shows.
Which is our next step in the skill stacking.
Right. Exactly. That's another piece of it. But I just like, I nerd out on like the connections, like all the stuff that has to come together and it has to fit in certain cases and it can't be over a certain weight because I want us to be able to fly with it and not have to pay for an extra, like an overweight bag. It can just be like a checked bag and fly for free. So like I'm thinking.
You like that.
I love it.
Like you're kind of like doing a little Sudoku.
Yeah, it's like my Sudoku. So I just sit and like, I just have a picture, like I drew it on a piece of paper. And I'm just like laying in bed last night, just like staring at it. And Chris is like, why are you just staring at that one?
But it's so cute, you know, you're really like
that.
I'm
glad you think that.
I'm not really like that, you know, and I'm glad that we're together because I was listening to this other artist and you guys would know who she is. And it's one thing to like listen to us here at the beginning of the journey and like just try to take our word for it. But
I could be wrong about everything.
We were listening to this artist. She's arguably like the most successful breakout artist.
Are you talking about Chapel Roan?
Yes.
Why don't you just say her name?
I don't know. I just didn't. So we were listening to her have a video and she was saying, somebody said like, what advice would you give new artists? And she was like, you have to be cringe and you have to do everything yourself.
Right. And we saw that like, I guess maybe the TikTok algorithm pushed it to us because it was right after we released the Cringe Mountain video, the first one.
Yeah.
And then we saw that Chapel video and we were like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what our podcast is.
But we were also kind of like, ooh, okay, so we're right.
Yeah.
You know, like we're hoping we're right.
Thank God someone successful has done this.
She was just like, you know, you have to learn how to do everything yourself so you don't depend on anyone.
Yeah.
And every artist is cringe and some successful artists still are. And that's part of it. You have to be okay with that. And you know what? We can do that.
Absolutely. It's like, what's the big deal? Like, who cares if you're cringe? Like, who cares? Like,
yeah, I had a friend, Zach Smith. He was my buddy in preschool, and then we went to high school together, and he commented on one of our Cringe Mountain TikTok videos, and he was like, "Who cares? Y'all do you." And I was like, "Thank you, Zach
That's
Smith."
very Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
I feel like he conquered that in like middle school. You know, he's always been like free.
But kind of like my personal worst nightmare are people from high school.
Oh, that's right.
Or like in my past.
I forgot about that.
In my past, like seeing me do what I'm doing now. And I think that that's not just me, because I also heard Chapel when somebody was saying like, what's one of the main things you want to do when you're super successful? She was like, I want to play a show at my high school football, whatever it is.
You know what I want to do so bad? It's so crazy that she said that. I want to play the Watermelon Festival in Cave City.
No, you don't.
So bad. I do. Like, I
didn't know that.
Jonas, listen,
Who?
my dog. Jonas. You don't know Jonas Anderson?
No.
He's the mayor of Cave City. He was in Kingsdown.
He was in Kingsdown? He's the
that mayor.
Guy?
Jonas. I'm just saying, my dog.
Oh my goodness.
I don't have a band yet, so it's obviously, and in fact, I think the Watermelon Festival happened this year already. But someday.
It did. The Watermelon Festival happened.
Someday, Jonas.
But when we were kids, and this is just free, and we only have like 4 minutes before our video runs out of time. But when we were kids, we didn't know each other yet, but we would go watch the same band play at the same local venue.
Yes.
And that band was called Kingsdown. They were like a local sensation at the time. And they're playing
Legends,
they're playing
legends.
a reunion show in September that we are definitely going to go see.
For sure. I'm
For
there.
sure. But before we knew each other, we were going to those same shows, and now one of their members is the mayor
of Cave City.
Of the town you grew up in.
Yeah, of the town I grew up in. That's bonkers.
So this is all very Arkansas.
Yeah, we're all related too. It's a thing. So, but yeah, I want to play the Watermelon Festival so bad. Like, I just feels like I have to do that.
Okay.
I have to do that.
Okay.
I don't know why I'm saying that. I just really want to do that.
But we're just saying, the point is, even people from high school that you might be kind of like, I don't want them to see me floundering at this because they're all adults and have real jobs. Even those people might pop into your comments and be like, you do you. Who cares? Because that's what happened to us, and it was super, super sweet.
Yeah, maybe it's because I'm in the corporate world. I'm like, you know, you might have a super corporate job and like make a ton of money, but like, at what cost? You know? So like, I don't really care. You know, if someone sees me like trying to do it.
You're just assuming that they're not happy?
Yeah, I'm just like, listen, I know what your day-to-day looks like, and it's lame. All right, so like, you might think I look like a loser up here playing my original songs, but you're selling insurance tomorrow morning. Like, I don't care. I literally don't care. Now, listen, I sell technology every day. I sold some today. Today, I sold, you know, $250,000 worth of computer hardware. So like, I'm selling stuff. Like I sell a lot of stuff. But here's what I'm here to say. It's all about the long game, guys.
It's about the long game.
It's about the long game. And like, you just got to give in. That's what it is. No changing it. Do the long game. No shame. Get ready to like learn how to skill stack, learn how to do all kinds of things you didn't know how to do. And you're just going to grow along the way.
Oh,
no
and
shame.
One thing that Chapel said right before the time runs out is she said, like, you need to find friends who can do the things you don't do that are willing to do it for free.
That's good.
And that's what we are for each other. And then we have another friend who helps us. But that's really good advice because nobody can do everything, okay? But
that's true.
Long game it.
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Episode 11. And we're excited to see you next time.
Subscribe, like it, share it with your friends.
Please.
We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.